The whole point of watching this video is to teach you how to play the London system with white. In this video, we're going to see two top Indian grandmasters and the final game featuring Magnus Carlsen. All games taken from the Olympiad. At the end of this video, you're going to have this new setup which you can use in your own games. That is really the whole point of watching this video. So let's take it from the top. 3 games. First up, we have Arjun Erigaisi, 16-year-old from India, against Arjun Gupta. India 2 versus India 3. So let's check this game out. And here we have it. These are the 3 moves of the London system. D4, bishop out, and then pawn up, creating a pawn chain defending your center. Black strikes in the center, and now you defend. Knight c6 and knight d2. Remember these types of moves in the London with white. The 2 knights defend each other. Gupta goes for the bishop pair. Bishop in the center. You don't take because now you just get white's knight right in the center. Bishop b5 check is now it's basically too dangerous. Also, at the same time, the queen attacks the knight. This is too dangerous. Don't go for it. So going back a couple moves, don't take that bishop. e6, now bishop b5. Arjun pins the knight. You kick the bishop away. Now why did Gupta do this? Take, take. Even though it opens up the h-file for the rook. Gupta now takes in center and gets the bishop pair. Couple moves. Gupta looks like he's got a good position. c4. Time to strike in center. Maybe another option was a calm move like c3 and then drop the bishop back. But after this, I mean, even though white has a nice pawn chain here, black is ready to strike in the center. I don't think this is the best option. So going back a few moves, time for Arjun to strike in the center. Castle, both sides castle. Even though the rook is on the h-file, it's not too useful really. If you play a move like here, you just go g6. I mean, big deal. Turns out he castles, king out the way. This move, to be honest with you, I don't like it because I don't get it. It doesn't do anything. Why put the king in the corner? Another option could have moved the bishop, get the queen out to challenge that bishop. So this move I really don't understand. Now things change. Take, take, and take, take. This could be a weakness for white to aim for. Queen c2, hit the pawn. We have this situation where it's 2 knights against 2 bishops. If we go back a few moves, that's why I really didn't like this king sidestep. Maybe a move like queen b6. Because if you take with the queen. And now we still have this situation. You might even take this way. The queen looks very well placed in the center. So that's why I'm a bit surprised with this king in the corner. However, things now change. Take, 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 take. Queen hit the pawn, defend, and now knight b3. We are controlling the c5 square 3 times. Knight in. And now the guy took. I wouldn't have taken. I would play around this knight, maybe here. The reason is you still got 2 bishops against 2 knights. Anyone can still win this type of position. The game goes on. With this capture, you really give up your asset. Gupta probably thought that he didn't want to do it, but he went for this transition. Take and now take. A new square is now available for the knight. f5. 2 new squares are available, but to be honest, he's just calculated quite far, Gupta. He actually gets a decent position later. If you look at this, it just looks all wrong to give white these squares. The knight comes in, but the reason is he's going to go f4. If you take, well, the rook comes in. g4, stop the bishop coming out. King back to g8. So a couple moves black has just wasted. Okay, queen hit the knight, rook is in the center. f3, defend your pawns. So then the knight could move later. a5, getting a bit of space. Maybe the rook can come in as well. Rook b4 maybe. Rotate the bishop back so it controls this diagonal. This is a weakness. It's being defended at the moment. One option is to move the knight back. That's why Gupta goes back. 1, 2, 3. If the knight ever comes back, then a capture could happen. G5 getting space. This move, I don't get it, okay? I really don't get this move because it now gives black a chance to get the bishop into the game. And if we look at this, I think black is fine now. Knight and bishop, they're both equally good. But if we go back one move, this pawn really does restrict that bishop. So I don't love that move. Another option was just to go back and if here, play this funny move. And it looks like this bishop is much better than this knight, but maybe this knight can actually come round this way. Very strange idea. Something like this. The knight comes round. And if you go back, maybe the knight comes round this way. It's really weird. 1, 2, 3, hit, and then come that way. So difficult to even come up with. You might drop the bishop back to control that square, and then the game goes on. We can threaten mate. Play goes on. Now let's go back a few moves. Turns out Arjun gave Gupta a square. Bishop now comes out. And now queen d4, really defending everything. 1, 2, 3, being attacked. You are also attacking this. Okay, knight now drops back, but knight against bishop, they come off. Take, 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 take. Transition. It is now queen and rook each. And lots of pawns, but white's pawns are more dynamic. You're controlling lots of dark squares. White does have the open file. White has such a well-placed queen in the center. It could improve, it could come up to a dark square. Black's queen and rook look a little passive. You're defending a pawn you don't really want to. The queen, I don't see any immediate prospects right now. It's not easy. Chess is not easy. You attack this pawn. Right in, rook defends. These arrows I already drew before. White's c5 and g5 pawn are active. Queen d4, okay. Arjun has calculated, even though the rook's now come off, as black is trying to liquidate the pressure, the king is in time to stop the pawn. King f1, d3, and king e1 again. Check, you just go back. White is winning. a4, you don't need to waste time taking it. Why give yourself double pawns? Let's just go up. 2 against 1. There's always a chance to break through in a normal way. Let's say black just wastes a move here, take something like this. A classic way to break through fast. Let's go back to the game. King d2, control. Look at this queen. Just controlling every square, really. Now that pawn drops. Not taking yet. He put the king here, takes that pawn. Okay, now what? Check, check, and now he comes back. How cool was that? How cool was that? Watch this. Queen attacks this pawn. It looks like that is lost, but Arjun has seen further. Check, king comes up, check somewhere, king comes up. Then you take this pawn and then you defend. Saw 3 moves ahead. Bit of class there from Erigaisi, the 16-year-old. Check, and then takes it just in time. There's no way through. The king is a perfect blockader. Check, take. If you take this one, well, we're going to come in for that. Check, check, queen in, check, check, and then queen here. Really cool move, actually. Really professional move. And the guy resigned. There are no good checks here. If a check happened, we play this move. What a class move here. Absolute class. There's no time to take because the king is checkable. Queen here forces the queen's off. What a class move. Take, take, game over. 1. Just run it home. And there's no time to run it home. The king is just too close. Just push. Finish it off with this green arrow. And there is no time. You can even march it, you can come closer, game over. Next game. How did Nihal Sarin beat Matthias Bluebaum? India against Germany. So let's check it out. That's why you are watching this video, to see how these top players played at London. Coming up will be Magnus Carlsen in the final game. So same kind of setup. And now we get this classic setup, triangle in the center. This bishop is amazing, so Matthias goes for bishop d6, one of the normal ways to play against London because they've got their bishop here, so why not offer a trade? And this is a trendy move. This setup we are going to see in the final game with Magnus. He also goes for this, deliberately getting doubled pawns. You can retreat here, but it's not actually the best move, because you could, let's say, castle here, here. It's this setup. Black wants this break. If this, I think we go here, and something like this, castle, take e5, I believe, something like this. Or you can take and then e5. This is the break Black wants. I know this is a very long sequence, but I think it's this kind of position. Nowadays, White is not actually retreating the bishop back to g3. Let's go back a few moves. It's a very long sequence, but if we look at this kind of position, what is the aim for Black? Get this pawn in, then this bishop might have a future. I mean, it could come out this way. So let's go back to the game. That's why in this position, a dynamic option is now taken. Knight d2, they come off. Queen c7, you attack the pawn, but you just go g3. Lots of pawns are on dark squares. Basically, it's like a V aiming for the e5 square. Castle, bishop now comes out. You don't want to put the bishop here. Bishop here, nope. Bishop here. Basically controlling both sides of the board. Take, and now we take with the knight. You don't really want to take with the pawn because that's isolated, which is a problem we are going to see in the final game featuring Magnus. Turns out his opponent had this problem throughout the whole game. It was awful. You can go e5. The guy chooses knight c6 first. Knight f3, take. We get e5 anyway. Take, check. Offering a trade. With queen e2, the guy says no. You don't really want to trade because after this is weak forever. Put the bishop here. Move the king out the way. You can castle. Rook here, I mean, and putting pressure on the central pawn. Queen out of the way, castle. Okay, queen side steps, rook e1, rook e2, double rooks. Knight comes in here, nothing to worry about, but Sarin just stops it with rook e3. Let's keep going. Drop the bishop back. We're still guarding this square. Are we planning to come here later? Yeah, maybe. But b3 first. Stop the knight coming in. Knight c6, retreating away from the center. Perhaps Black could play a waiting move like rook here. Or anything, really. Or here, maybe. But rook here, I mean knight here, is actually a bad move. Look at the blue arrows. That square is now fully in control for White. Rook f3, you attack the queen. And you might be thinking, what's he talking about? Big deal. You attack the queen, doesn't mean you're losing. You now attack the queen again. You attack the queen again. It's a very long sequence. And after these attacks, you might be thinking, so what? You just attack the queen, the guy might sidestep. But after all this pawn is under attack. Queen actually retreats back to f8. If queen here, I think knight comes into d6. That's too strong. That's gone, really. If you take, I think we can take with check first. And then we can take, or even come in here. King here, we can even do this. 1, 2, both are mate. Who? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Long sequence there. Let's go back a few moves. So queen back to f8. Matez wants to make sure the knight can't come in, but the knight comes into c7 anyway. Forking. Pawn, rook, rook. Black swaps off rooks. Take. And now both are under attack. Classic fork. And then we pick up the center pawn. Queen comes back in. Oh, queen comes back in the game to attack the knight. c4, class move. Defending your knight. Maybe the queen can actually come into check. I've highlighted the pawns on the queen side. It is 3 against 2 for White. Attack the knight, defend, get the rook back in the game. Swing over, swing back to defend. Maybe bishop comes here as well. Offering a trade, the guy says no. Queen d2, let's defend the center. Queen a1, a3, everything defending everything. Pawn defends pawn, rook defends pawn, knight defends pawn. We're good. We are good. No need to worry about this because the queen can drop back. Bishop h3. Check. Ah, even better. Even better. That's a bit of class. Yeah, check. Take. Now the rooks face off. Swapping off. Take. And it's still 3 against 2. White is totally winning. Let's go back a few moves. In this moment here, hit the rook. Queen c3. Class move, which is what we saw in that previous line. First thought is, you move the rook wrong. Not at this level. You play unpredictable moves. Offer a trade. Queen c3, class move, forcing the queen trade, I think. Take. Now b5. Good move from black. Can't take because you lose your knight. By the way, I was wondering about this, but it totally loses. Because I thought take, right? Level. No. If we go back to this moment, this is the move that I had missed. And then I saw it. Here. White to move and win. The fact that the rook and bishop are on the same line. Rook d3, we pick up the rook. Best move for black is take. And then we are now winning. Let's go back a few moves. b5, nice. f4 first, sorry. You hit the knight, take, and then knight c7, hitting both. An active move would have been rook d1. Because bishop h3 is now very annoying. Knight d2 is very annoying. Mateus actually missed his chance. However, in the game, the guy moved the bishop first, but then that pawn drops. Rook d1 now, so Mateus clearly saw the idea, maybe here now, but what's the difference? King f2. He just moves the king out the way. Now if we go back, what you might be thinking, what is this guy talking about? Here, why not king f2 now? Check. King moves. Rook here. And this, there's a pawn here defending the knight. If we go back to the game, there's no pawn. Wasted move here. Black actually wasted a move. Here, king moves, and then check, king moves. This is hanging. There is no pawn. That is the big difference. Black is totally winning. I think something is going to drop. This might drop, or the rook might drop. Let's go back a few moves. Here, rook d1, knight d2, attack the bishop. Let's offer a trade. Offer that trade. Bishop d3. If take, you basically cannot move on here. White is totally winning. So after bishop d3, I think the guy could move the bishop, but then actually king here actually wins both. Oops. Wins both. Ah, you got this check. Okay, king up then. And white is still winning. Okay. A little bit careless there. Let's have a look. If bishop moves, king here. Yeah, a little bit trapped here. Knight doesn't have a good square. If you go knight, I think you just take it. Cool. We just take that one as well. Perfect. Let's go back a few moves. Knight d2, bishop d3, a6, take, king e2. Another class move. Typical, isn't it? Do you move the knight? No. You play a better move. Double attack. That's what these top players are playing, in my opinion. You don't play the predictable move. Also, here, you have to move it. Sorry, because if you knight e4 check is a threat. So let's attack both. Rook moves away. Take. Check. Now totally winning. 2 against 1. The rook always defends, and this king can come up and pick it up. That's exactly what happened. Just move the king. We're good. Let's see the rest. Here. Push. We can all blunder. If you play this, you lose. g2. Can't take the rook because you get a queen, and if you go here, forcing the promotion. We can all blunder in one move. It's so easy to make a mistake in chess. So after this, after this capture, Ni Hao just retreat the rook, and if here, you come back. Take with check. Stop the pawns, run it home, game over. Run, and even this, you can even go forward. Both are winning. Rook here wins as well. This wins because you're going to go here and then here. If the game goes on, by the way, the guy resigned. You just promote, take, run it home. It's too slow, mate. Too slow. Get a queen, take, here, game. Queen can always come back to stop the pawn. And the final game. Magnus Carlsen against Zvonko Stanojoski. Probably pronouncing that wrong. Norway against former Yugoslavia of Republic. So, here we go again. This is why you guys have watched all the way up to this point, to add the London system to your repertoire. Are you going to play this with white? Let me know in the comments below. So we have the same thing. But how is Magnus going to handle this kind of position? So we get this same transition again. Magnus knows this. I mean, he basically invented the London system. I mean, he brought it back at the highest level many years ago. You're not going to drop it back because of what we saw before, black getting in e5. So you get this dynamic transition. It looks so weird, doesn't it? If you've never seen before. If you've never seen this before, doubled f pawn c5, the guy launches. Same move as before. Same move as before. Defend. The guy recaptures bishop here. Same move as before. This is what how Sarin played in the previous game. Knight b3. Now it's a bit different, but we're still playing in the same style. Just like before, white is fighting for the dark squares. Two knights control d4. Knight and pawn control e5. Castle for both sides. Right, knight coming here to offer a trade. Black has less space. This is a good strategy. Bishop d7. Cool move here. Offering a trade because this bishop is awful. I was thinking queen e2, but maybe a weird move like bishop a4, trying to challenge that. Bit weird. Here, I think the knight can come in. Black might be alright. Some dynamic moves for black. Magnus didn't actually want to go for that. After this, it turns out he played a4 to stop the bishop coming here. Now with this move, maybe one slight disadvantage is this queen has to defend the knight because black's queen is attacking it. Whereas on the previous move, the pawn was also defending the knight. So let's keep going. a4, knight c5. Good move from this guy. Offering a trade, he's got less space. Take, take, and now knight d4. White is playing a dark squared strategy. Putting lots of pawns on dark squares, but also we have a central knight. Not only that, there are going to be more pieces controlling dark squares. Let's see how Magnus plays this kind of position. a5, a very, very committal move. I would never have played that. It's too committal. Okay, maybe this, or move a rook, or move the bishop out of the way. It's too committal for me. Now I can understand why the guy played it. You want to control b4 to stop Magnus going b4 at the moment. Let's see what happens. Rook e1, another piece controlling the dark square. Queen c2, really cool move, flexible move you could say. Queen defends the pawn. Look at the blue arrows. Pawn, knight and bishop control b5. Look at the green arrows. Queen and bishop control the e4 square. Green arrows for black as well. Black also controls the e4 square with pawn and knight. Rook as well. So I think queen c2 is a good move. Rook right in the center. Queen e2. Magnus shifts over. Maybe he wants to actually trade. Maybe offer a trade in this manner. The rook still needs to stay on a1 because the bishop attacks that pawn. Knight d7, hit the rook, it drops back. Knight c5, hit the bishop, it drops back because 1, 2, you need to defend it. So really, white is just going to defend the bishop, retreat the bishop I mean, to make sure we hold on to that pawn. Okay, this position is full of tension, but how is Magnus going to play this? Let's keep going. g6, another pawn on a light square, trying to restrict this bishop, fair enough. b3, defend that pawn. Oh yeah, so yeah, I've just seen it. The reason g6 is played is because now, if it's black's move, let's say white played a random move, then queen b2 is the threat. But if we go back a couple moves, you might be thinking, well, why not the guy takes it? Because it's just a classic tactic. You win the queen. Bishop takes h7 check, and then the queen is lost. So that's a really cool moment, which I've just noticed. So easy to miss things when preparing a game for a video, but I've just worked it out. g6 played, and that's why Magnus played b3. You know, I was wondering why that was played in the game, maybe something else, but b3 is good. Let's keep going. Knight e4 right in the center. Let's just over defend the knight, you could say. The pawn defends the knight with the rook defends the pawn, the bishop could attack it, you might kick it away. Queen and bishop on the same file. Everything defends everything really. Pawn defends pawn, which controls the b5 square. Rook c8, perhaps attacking this later if the bishop moves out the way. h4, typical move in every kind of position nowadays. Get your h-pawn in as an attacker. That's exactly what Magnus does. Time for black to break open the center, changing the entire position. e5. Now this is the break I was saying. If black gets this break in, black is good against the London. But it's a bit different now, because black has a new weakness. If we go back a couple moves, pawn chain, very healthy. But now after e5, take, this pawn could be a weakness. Is it a big deal at the moment? No, but against Magnus, the best player in the world, And you know what? It's not really about that. Magnus is a player who can just keep playing on for hundreds of moves. This is not a position you want against a player like this. Also, another player you don't want this kind of position against is British GM David Howell, who is known for playing moves up to just beyond 100. So you don't want this kind of position. Now, both sides have their rooks on the e-file. Knight drops back, hit the queen, so there's no time to win the rook. Queen drops back, take, 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 take. All the rooks have come off. Now what? Well, it's still an awful position because this is weak forever. This bishop is awful. A little bit weak around the king. Is there an entry square? Yes. So that's why black stops it with queen c5. Queen f4, cool move. There's no time to take because you lose that one and it defends the knight. Going back 2 moves, that's really exactly what the blue arrow shows. Also, white is controlling lots of squares, lots of dark squares. Move the knight away. Turns out Magnus just drops back. Okay, a little bit of shuffling here. A little bit of shuffling, and now h6. Classic type of maneuver in every sort of middle game. Please look out for this option in your own games. You literally just launch the h-pawn, controlling squares around the king. g5. Can't take at the moment because the queen still eyes the knight, but that's why the guy played g5. Knight f3, class move. Time to offer a trade, because if this trade happens, it just works out so well for white. This is going to drop. Look at the blue arrows, lots of entry squares for the queen. Can't really take because this drops. And now this is hanging. The queen can come in. Keep an eye on this. Beautiful bishop against bishop, which is not active. If you play a move like b6, maybe queen in. And it is looking too dangerous. Both attack f7, queen check here. Well, you're attacking the bishop anyway. Game goes on. Now let's go back a few moves, back to this position. After knight f3, no trade. Queen a7. Holding everything. You take me, I take you. I've highlighted this side of the board. You could think of it like 3 against 2. Bishop and queen are under attack. That's why the guy retreated the knight to defend both. Check and back. Really class move from Magnus. When you put the queen on this square, you stop the guy moving the knight. Also, if you look at this, it is 2 against 1. Get them rolling. White is going to get a queen. g4, hit the knight, put it in the center. Queen c1. Has Magnus given the guy some type of counterplay? No. Class move here. King g2. What? King g2, why? Giving up the bishop? No. No. The queen goes here with check. If you take the bishop, check. The king moves away, and now we have this domination situation. The queen literally controls every dark square. Look at the blue circles. The knight against the bishop. Total minor piece domination. What do I mean? The knight is a perfect piece sitting here. The bishop has no future. Just totally locked in side his half, and you can get these pawns rolling again. 2 against 1. Let's go back a few moves. That's why in this position, class move from Magnus, just king up to g2. h6 to defend. It looks like we're attacking both, but another good move from Magnus. Bishop to c2 to stop the queen attacking the pawn. That's what the blue arrow was here. Bishop, queen attacks bishop and pawn, but now we cut it off. Class move here. Queen there, and now bishop f5. No time to take the pawn. Yeah, there's no time to take the pawn anyway, because here we have this cool tactic. We could just go, I think we could go check. We can even take this. I'd probably go for this. Here. We're winning. But the important thing is, I mean, check, you're going to pick up the queen. So there's no time for this guy to take this pawn. Bishop f5, good move, understanding when to trade. When these bishops come off, then the king is going to be so weak. Queen back to g5, b4, 2 against 1. And also, all your pieces are more active. And it's very important the black king is so weak. Take, take. Okay, so pair of pawns come off, take, take. But in this situation, you might be thinking, why not take this one? You still take. You still get a runner. Take here. You lock it up. Knight defends the pawn. Total domination. This can run. Everything is covered. The guy can't move. Now back to the game. The guy took, we take that one. Bishop d1, coming in for some cheapos, some cheap threats. Push. Push. So from the back to stop the promotion just in time, but not really. One option is this. That really forces the queening. But what Magnus did, I mean, it's the same. Queen e7. The reason he put the queen is so then it's closer. You're going to see very soon why the queen is a little bit different on this square compared to here. So check, only move. Oh yeah, also queen e7 means we got knight here. So black does nothing, like this, check, using the pin. Nice mating net coming up. If here, check, here. Oh, that's mate, actually, that's funny. Okay, if come up, we got this one. That's mate as well, which is funny. So back to the game, here, check, take, 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 check, king here, check, hit the bishop and the king, defend, attack the queen at the same time, take, and now we get a queen. Check. The guy doesn't resign because, I mean, you've got a knight. Never resign if you've got a knight. Check, 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 bring it back. The queen that you've got has now come a6, to e2 to check. It's basically game over, check, and now king d4. King is very safe because really this knight can't move. So black only has a queen against the king, and I mean white's got two queens. King moves out the way, take, check, block, move the queen, check, here, win the knight, check, check, hit the queen, doesn't matter, check. Really cool move, by the way. You hit the queen, but Magnus doesn't even move it. He plays this check. You can't take due to the pin. Game over. The guy resigned because after this, check. And after this, I mean, anything wins, but that's class. Check. King has to come forward, and then you can pick a mate. Both are good. Both are good. So I hope you saw how two top Indian grandmasters, Erigaisi, Sarin, and also Magnus Carlsen, play the London system with white.